I feel like we should reintroduce ourselves. Hi, I'm Natalie Diaz, founder of Twiniversity, and that's it. I don't know what I am anymore. I'm tired. Hi, I'm Natalie Diaz, and I'm exhausted. Who are you?
I am Lauren Oak. I am also exhausted, but I'm also a birth and postpartum doula.
You're a birth doula now. Look at you go. So when you finished your birth doula certification, does everybody get like a baseball glove to catch the baby from across the room?
No, a net. We get a net.
Okay, that makes much more sense. A net Funicello? Does anybody even know who that is? Google it later, guys.
That is. Our listeners might not.
No way. No way. If anybody listening knows who Annette Funicello is, I am in the wrong business because you were above 85. I loved her. All right. So after we Google that, so now they gave you Annette Funicello, delicious, and you're catching babies as they shoot out of the vajayjays. Wonderful. How have you been to a birth yet?
No. Tomorrow I am interviewing a possible client.
Oh,
and I think I have a birth set up for January. I mean, I know that now, but
singleton or twins?
Both singletons. Twin births, really, you can't really have. You can hire a birth doula, but in a hospital-based situation, a lot of the hospitals will not let you in a twin birth because it's in an OR, and they won't let that extra person in to the OR unless you don't have a partner or another support person. So, like, if you're a single woman that is having twins and you need a support person, a birth doula would be a great option.
My gosh, you would be the great option. I don't know if any birth doulas or whatever, I can't speak for what other people do, but I've seen some crappy doulas, and like, you, without letters after your name, without a certification, like, I'd want you there when I was pushing babies out.
Thank you. Yeah, I know of a few doulas that I'm just like, I don't know if I'd want them.
I've met some too, and I thought that they would be better, but you know what? It's going to be hit or miss.
Some people like certain things, and they jive with certain people, and other people just don't. I'm pretty easygoing, so I'm not very like, everything has to be this way. I'm change our path, whatever we're doing, work around whatever's happening in life.
I feel like doulas should have children. I feel like in order to be a doula, you should have had to go through the birthing process.
I actually know a really good postpartum doula who's been doing it longer than I have, who has no children, but she's pregnant. She's having a baby, like literally her first baby any day now. But she's been doing this for years, and people loved her. And I actually shared clients with her and they loved her. So,
all right.
I think it's just a personality too. A lot of it is, although having your own children adds to it.
Well, right now I'm working with a client in Long Island City that's a pediatrician.
Okay.
And I keep saying, like, why does a pediatrician need to see a lactation person? Like, wouldn't she know enough? But
forget everything. Your professional stuff goes right out the window.
Lauren, it's not, they were never taught this.
Yeah, well, that's
forget about going out the window. Literally, as far as like breastfeeding medicine goes, as like I say it because it sounds dumb, but they don't do any of that.
I see a lot. With my own postpartum clients, the majority of their pediatricians know nothing about breastfeeding. They're so eager to jump to be like, oh, just give them formula.
Yeah.
Or they give them bad recommendations on how to breastfeed.
Yeah.
They just don't have the education there. So it's just not all pediatricians, but a lot.
A lot. Because even in the practice that I'm with, sometimes they frustrate me saying things that are totally not true.
Yeah.
Right. Like it makes me crazy. But I said to this mama, I said, hey, do you think that being like now having your own child, do you feel that how do you feel this is going to affect your pediatric practice?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh my God, I can't even count the ways. And I said, what's the number one thing that you have been saying that you now found out is total BS? And she said, nipple confusion. And I was like, high five, bloop. And I was like, thank you so much. And she's like, I cannot believe that I have been telling parents for years that this is a thing when now I've seen it with my own kiddo that it's not. So I think it's really interesting
I
of the
find
people that walk into our lives, how little they know or how much they know.
I think it's nipple preference. And I also am pro like variety is a spice of life. Like some moms just want to breastfeed.
Yeah.
So I don't want to give them a pacifier. I don't want to give them a bottle. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe a little bit of everything
Yeah.
would work.
Yes. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's literally nothing wrong with that. I have now come to the conclusion, and any lactation people that are listening to this or any birth workers that are listening to this, my big spiel is as soon as I meet with somebody, I say, listen, I have no agenda. I have no goal. My goal is to make sure that you feel satisfied with this experience. And however it takes for me to help you get from A to Z, that's my job. And they're like, oh my God, I didn't know that this existed. But I always say you got to introduce a bottle. Now, this really does go along with our topic today because we're going to talk about being touched out.
Ah.
And so even as new mamas, right, and when you give birth and you have tons of skin to skin time, there just may be a time where you just need to be you for a second in the shower for more than 8 minutes. And you just need a minute, which is why bottles are critical. But the whole discussion that we're going to have during this episode is all about being touched out.
A lot of the times when I work with new moms, even if I show up at 9 o'clock at night, I say, did you get outside today? And if they say no, I'm like, why don't you go sit in the backyard or take a walk around the block, take your dog on a walk? Because they need to get out of that house and kind of a moment to themselves. When I was in the city, I would say, go to Duane Reade at the corner and go buy yourself a candy bar. Just because they needed to get out of the house and they had not left their space and they need it.
Yeah. I think that people underestimate how that's a thing. Because they're just like, I shouldn't feel this way. I just had a baby. I should want to be with this baby 700 million days a week.
And you need your own thing. And how can we pour from an empty cup? If we're so touched out, how are we going to take care of those babies?
Yeah.
We haven't taken care of ourselves. And it's not a selfish thing. A lot of moms are like, no, it's me being no, it's not you being selfish. It's you being human and needing to have something for yourself.
Amen, Oprah. That was the best thing you've ever said.
You get a car and you get.
Yes. I was hoping today would be the car episode. Imagine Oprah was around now. What would she give away?
The Teslas, maybe.
The Teslas. That's a good one. I don't want a Tesla.
What would she give?
I think
I don't know. She give away like all her favorite TikTok shop.
Yes. So if you were the Oprah of today and today was your episode, what would everyone get in the audience?
Oh my God. I love the Scrub Daddy stuff.
Ooh.
Scrub Daddy things, and I'm dying to buy one because I use Scrub Daddy stuff at home. It's like $40 and you get like 30 things.
I'm going to buy that for you. Make a list. Okay, Scrub Daddy for Lauren for Christmas. So you got to wait.
I get a lot of cleaning products on TikTok.
That's what you get. I'm the worst. My algorithms are horrible. I would say if everybody was going to get something in the audience, are you ready? Are you ready? Yeah. Okay. So they don't sell them here in New York. I have to get them from another part of the country. But they are called limoncello almonds from Costco.
Ooh.
So that's what everybody would be getting.
A like Nat and Lauren's favorite thing.
Oh, yes.
Apple it off or something.
That would be great. Amanda has to send them to me from Utah. Everybody's going to get the limoncello almonds, which Amanda says they're only seasonal. So she just bought me 4 bags that she's shipping to New York, but she's got to send them quick because they're like almonds, delicious, delicious almonds that are then in a white chocolate, dipped in a white chocolate, then dipped in like a lemony coating.
You know what I love that you can't get around here? You can get them like in Texas and stuff, wherever. You know what Buc-ee's is? It's like a gas
station. Of course. Yes.
They have Buc-ee nuggets.
What is that? Is that chicken or something?
No. They're like crunchy, sweet, snacks. They're like this big, and they're like corn, but they have like a sweet glaze thing. They're just delicious, and I can eat a whole bag, and they're probably 9,000 calories a bite. But I love some Bucky nuggets.
So they're beaver nuggets.
Beaver nuggets or something like that.
You can buy them on Amazon.
I know, but I'll eat the whole bag. And it's summer, so I need to be in bathing suit weather body.
Summer, please. By the way, just place the order. Buy now. $11.44. They're on the way.
Where? To your house? You're going to eat them all?
I just bought them on Amazon while we talked.
They're so good.
Okay, I'll be the judge.
My twins went to Texas and brought me back a bag.
That's nice.
And then I was like, I might fly you back to Texas to get me more.
We have one, and the closest one to us is Florence, North Carolina.
Yeah.
We drove through there when we went to Florida.
We got knockoff ones at this place called Try My Nuts.
Absolutely. You did. On Canal Street. that was a different store. Laura, the next time you see a store that says Try My Nuts, don't put your finger in that hole in the restroom.
Don't try the nuts.
Don't do that. If it's on like a throughway rest stop and there's a hole in the bathroom and it says that, don't touch it. Okay, this is word for everybody out there. So this is it. So going back to being touched out, don't touch that either. All right, are you ready to get into today's episode since we are wildly off the rails?
Yes.
Okay, well, this is it. So if you feel touched out, you are going to empathize. Get ready. Here we go. Good morning, Kristen. Thank you so much for playing with us today.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. I'm so excited.
Well, listen, we can't pass up this opportunity because there is something that I've been dying to talk about, and you are the person that I want to talk to about this. So It comes up a lot in our groups and online, and we hear the saying, even in social, that moms are just touched out. Mm-hmm. And of course, this affects your kiddos. This affects your partners. There are so many levels to this whole kind of being touched out. And you being kind of the person that, I don't want to say I'm painting you into a corner of mental health, but for today, that's what we're going to do. But I really know that if there is anybody that could speak about this fluently and could really also empathetically understand, it's you. So
thank you.
I'm so happy that you're here, and I'm so happy that you could help us because seriously, we're just freaking touched out. So give us a little bit of how you got to where you are today. Tell us about the most delicious Twinnies in the entire West Coast. Yeah, give us a little background.
I will do that. Thank you. So I started out as a mental health therapist specializing in early childhood mental health. So that was birth to 5, working with children with pretty complex needs and their families. And so I started that out, really enjoyed the work and learned a lot about our sensory systems, a lot about children's mental health, how to support attachment, how to build relationships. Really loved that work. And then I became a mom to my oldest singleton. And then once I became a mom, I realized that I didn't really know a lot. I thought I knew a lot. I was trained. I had the experience. And then when I became a mom, I needed more. So I got additional training to support moms and work in maternal mental health. And then in 2020, at 20 weeks, found out we were having twins. So we had multiple scans before where a whole baby was missed. And then in January 2020, found out it was twins. And then the pandemic hit in March. My boys were born in April. And so that really put me on the train of I need to follow my passion. Time is short. I have no time with 3 boys now. And so I really started to focus and prioritize maternal mental health, and have really fallen in love with supporting twin moms because I know how hard it is. It was the most humbling, hardest, depleting experience that I've ever had. And it was the most wonderful at the same time. So both of those things were true at the exact same time. And I've quickly found myself in survival mode, burnt out, overwhelmed, and overstimulated. And finally came to the point where it's like, this can't be it. I can't keep living like this. This is my one precious life. These are my kiddos' moments that I'm missing because I'm burnt out. And so I worked really hard to be able to get out of survival mode, take care of myself, understand what I need, set expectations, boundaries, all sorts of things. And now I'm doing that for twin moms. And one of the things that I support twin moms with is exactly what you're talking about, is this feeling of being touched out. And people are talking about it more, but sometimes we don't fully understand. So if it's okay, I'd love to explain a little bit what's happening for us, and then we can go and talk more about maybe what to do or things like that. But so we each have our own sensory system. And so our sensory system is like the basic ones. And one of them is touch. But each of us have like what's like essentially like a cup. We have a certain amount of cup, and things can pour in. So we can get certain amount of touches, and then all of a sudden our cup is full. If we don't pour out our cup by like taking care of ourselves, resting, taking breaks, resetting, reconnecting with ourselves, all of the things that are incredibly difficult to do as twin moms, then our cup is perpetually full. And when our cup is full, we get to that point where it's like, if one other thing touches me, I'm going to lose it. I just cannot handle. I cannot take one more thing. I'm getting like goosebumps remembering these experiences and how it truly feels like, and how awful it is, because it's your babies and you want to be able to touch them, or it's your partner, or it's your other kiddo, and you want to be able to connect with them, but you are so full that it's almost aversive. And sometimes what we can do is like, when our cup is so full, our body is like, full stop, we cannot do this anymore. And then sometimes we have those big reactions, or we have the like, I just need to go. I need to take a minute. And we're reacting in ways maybe that we don't want to, but it's because our cup is too full. And to take it even further, we all have different sizes of cups. Your cup may be really full. My cup is a little bit smaller for being touched. And to make it even more complicated is that the light touch, the gentle touch of our babies, or the little like fingertips, like whatever it is alerting to our nervous system. So when that touch comes at us, our nervous system instantly has this automatic reaction of danger. And then our brain has to go, oh, wait, no, that's not danger. It's not a snake that's coming up behind me or a predator. It's my baby and we're okay. But that's so taxing to our brains to be able to do that. And sometimes we hit our limit because we're not able to take care of ourselves, to get rest, and we have these reactions.
And I think also it totally makes sense. And I think for every sensory, I don't want to say like what every sense, we have our own cups for that. So there are people who can't talk anymore. There are people who need to close their eyes. So there, with every sense, there is a different cup. And I feel when you have infants, especially, the whole being touched out gets full so quick, because you're really not talking to them as much as you would be, let's say, if you were giving lectures all day and you were a college professor and you had 15 classes that day, right? Everybody's going to have kind of a different threshold of tolerance. And so with twin families, we don't ever really acknowledge that we have a threshold of tolerance, because as parents, we're just expected to do everything for everyone all of the time. So that cup sneaks up on you and you don't even realize that not only is it full, it is flowing over. It has flooded the downstairs. We have to now call a city inspector. We have to have the water company come turn off the water. It gets so full so fast. And if you don't pay attention or at least acknowledge what's going on, you're just going to have a flood. So how could we start to realize that our cup is getting full, right? We have like, of course, common knowledge, like, oh, I'm touching something. Yes, this is a touch. But when it comes to that, we're getting near the top, are there things that we may look for? Are there signs that we're getting to the top of our cup?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And you're exactly right. Like, everybody's cup is different. And it's different when our kids are at different ages. When my kiddos were infants, my boys just turned 4. So they're a little bit older, and my oldest is 6.5. Right now, my cup that's always full is noise. They are loud, they are wild, and they do repetitive noises that fill up my cup so fast. But when we're working with infants, it's often the touch, because we're holding our babies, we're nursing, we're burping, we're getting spit on us, throw up, like all sorts of things. There's just a lot of sensory input. Like, one of my favorite things to say is like, twins are a sensory nightmare.
Mhm.
Like our bodies have to filter out so much stuff because our twins, there's two of them in the same stage. It's a lot. And there are signs that our body gives us when we are reaching that limit. And we can talk about those. The thing that I think it's most important to know, though, is that oftentimes we're ignoring these signals. They're there. Everybody's body is providing these signals. It's just part of our nervous system and how our bodies work. Our body wants to protect us and wants us to be safe. But what happens often with twins is that we have to keep going. Our twins don't stop. They're not just like, hey, mom, I see you need a break. I'm going to just chill for a minute. Like, at least that's in my experience, my kids aren't doing that.
Yeah, right.
And so like what happens is like our body's giving you these signals, but when we're stuck in burnout, in survival mode and overwhelm, overstimulation, we ignore those signals. We like disconnect from our body. Like we're perpetually like dehydrated. Our body's saying, hey, like we're thirsty, take a drink, but we just keep going. And so our body's giving us these signals like that we're touched out by, like we start to get like really brain foggy. Like our brain is just like, we can't process any more things. Or we'll see things like, when your startle reflex gets really intense. So like when someone does touch you, a light touch, we're like having this really big reaction when maybe we don't need to. And so we can see like our reactions are disproportionate to the sensory input, our current experience. We're maybe overreacting. And sometimes on the opposite, to make it even more complicated, we can underreact. So we can go into like this freeze mode where we're constantly kind of just like checking out. We're doom scrolling on our phone. We're like trying to just, like our brain is foggy. We're just trying to freeze. So we can go into like essentially two ways of coping. We can like go up into like what's called hyper arousal or go down into hypo arousal. So hyper arousal is where we get really these big reactions. We get this sense of urgency. We get this feeling like we got to do all of the things now. We just got to go, 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 go. And then when we go down into hypo arousal, then that's the one that we just like, everything's slow. We're just kind of stuck, we're frozen, we're not really able to do much. And so this is our nervous system's natural reaction to all of this sensory input. But what our body is doing is trying to give us these messages and trying to say like, hey, slow down, stop. We need to take care of ourselves. Does that make sense?
That totally does. But you could have the high and the low within the same day.
Exactly. Yep. It's not like a very clear black and white system. Like we respond differently to different stressors. So in one situation, you may go high, and a different situation can even be like 10 minutes later, you may go low. So it just depends upon the stressor and how our nervous system is reacting. And so when I work with twin moms, one of the things that I focus on is like, what does like, when you're feeling good, what does that actually look like? Like, let's be really specific and define, like when you are like, you know what, I think I'm feeling all right today. Like, what does that look like? What does that feel like? Because our job is to get back in there. Our job is not to be calm all the time and to be perfect. Our job is to kind of stay within what we would call like our regulation. Like we want to be regulated so we can be the parents that we want to be. We can take care of ourselves. We can problem solve. We can organize and plan and do all of the things that we have to do as twin moms. But when we're constantly dysregulated, it's really hard to do that.
It is. And how the heck do you do that? Right. So at Twiniversity, I know we've had a lot of talks about like, parenting timeouts. And it's okay to just say, I just need a second. And it gives you a chance to regroup as long as the twinnies are safe, even if they're crying, just let them cry so that you can pull yourself back together. But there are definitely moments, and it's not only with the twinnies, it's with our partners too, right? And you were talking about like overreacting and like when you get that touch. So like if you had a whole day and you didn't get to have any timeouts during the day and your partner comes home, and so your partner literally just tries to like give you a hug or whatever, and you have this very instinctual reaction to pull away. Now we're dealing with that our partner could have a sense of rejection. So with that, then you're like, okay, my body was just trying to protect itself. I maybe overreacted against my will, but now I have to go clean up that mess. So here we go. I want to try to figure out a way to put kind of like the cart before the horse. Like, what could we do during the day to never have an overflow? And yes, of course, it's going to be impossible to follow everything by the letter of the law because there's just no way that we could do that. But is there something that we could do in tiny little bits and pieces during the day, whether it's take, kind of mental health inventory, whether it literally is to go to the bathroom with the door closed that I joke about a lot? What are the things that we could do each day to prevent getting to that point where we're just going to have additional messes to clean later?
Yeah. I love that because you're describing like the reality of what it's like day to day, right? Like where we react and now we have to repair and do that. And it just adds another thing onto our list of what we want to do. And so as twin moms, I think one of the things that we try to focus on as much as possible is prevention, because when we get to that point where the chaos ensues, like it's incredibly difficult. And so we want to do prevention. So I appreciate this question and I love it. And I will say, unfortunately, there's not like a quick fix or a magic pill. If there was, like, I would be first in line for that pill. I'd be
manufacturing it. Yes. It would be the first Twiniversity product that exists in the United States.
With you on that one. Yep. And so it is a process. So I just want to set realistic expectations, because honestly, one of the biggest factors for us as twin moms for overwhelm and anxiety is unrealistic expectations. Is that we're expecting to be perfect moms, take care of our kids, do all of the things, do our house things, be able to work or stay at home or whatever we're doing. Like, we have incredibly high expectations on moms these days, and it is so harmful for us. So the very first thing, like we talk about, is like we need to acknowledge that first we're here, we're in survival mode, we're in that part that we're reacting, that we are maybe not proud that we're here, but we understand why. Like, we know systematically what has happened that has caused us to be in the survival mode. And then the second thing that we can do is really start to focus on our resilience. So resilience, how I define it, is like, it's our ability to successfully like adapt to stressors while maintaining our well-being. It's not just like I'm the strongest and I can keep going and I can endure all of these hard things. It's we really want to maintain our wellness and our well-being. We have to be able to take care of ourselves rather than just like enduring stressors like a champ, because that's not healthy for anybody. But it's the expectations that twin moms are given a lot of times. You just have to get through it. You just have to survive it. It'll get easier in the future. But there's a cost to that. And the cost is usually to us and our well-being. And so some of the things that I talk to twin moms about is that the very first thing, you kind of mentioned it, is with the timeouts, is we have to slow down. In a world, in a parenting experience with twins that are telling us to go, 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 you just need to do these things. We need to do the opposite of that. And we need to slow down. And when I say slow down, people are thinking like, never. I can never do that. If I slow down, the house of cards is just going to fall. And I get that. And I've been there and I understand what that is. And I will say, we have to do something different. Otherwise, it's just going to keep continuing.
Yes.
And so one of the things that's different is like what you were talking about, essentially like that parental timeout. And how I view it is we do that a little bit sooner, not when we're at our breaking point, but when we get a moment. And it can be like a minute, 30 seconds, 2 minutes, just to really pause and to say, okay, what's happening right now? Because oftentimes we're so disconnected from our body, we're thinking about the next thing we have to do. What's the next feed? Where are the bottles? Where are the pump parts? We're just thinking about all of the things that we have to do. We're not even noticing like, oh, I don't think I've eaten today, or I haven't washed my face, or I'm still in the clothes that I've been in for 3 days. We kind of joke about as moms, but also like the flip side of that is like, wow, we are really, really not taking care of ourselves. Even just those basic needs of eating and drinking water and taking a moment to reset our nervous system. And so that's one of the things that the very first things that I recommend is like, we need to find times where we can slow down. And that slow down is to think, go to a place that you can feel calm. Sometimes it's just like I go to my bathroom because I know I can lock the door, and I go and I take some deep breaths and think, okay, what's going on right now? I'll close my eyes. I'll take a deep breath and think about like, what do I need? What am I noticing in my body? Like sometimes I'll notice like, wow, my throat is incredibly dry. I probably need to drink some water. And it's just these basic things that people might think like, oh, that's just too simple, but we need to keep it simple as twin moms. Like that's what we need to do. And so we can take these breaks where we just pause and say, okay, what am I noticing in my body? And it's a practice that we have to get used to. Sometimes we're so disconnected, we have absolutely no idea. Then even just pausing and just thinking about it allows our nervous system to get out of that go, 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 that hyperarousal or hypoarousal zones, and to reset and to pause. That in itself is so healing for our nervous system that if we continue that practice, our body is going to learn again now that we can take these moments to rest. And rest does not have to look like we take a hour-long nap every day. Rest can be like, hey, I'm just going to like sit down and drink my favorite drink, or I'm going to sit down and whatever it could
Call
be.
your sister, doodle, do a Sudoku,
Beautiful.
do whatever it is, like whatever you are in a different version of you because you shot some babies out of your body. You're the same version of you. So the things that you used to like to do, odds are they're just lying dormant in there. And if you reignite that spark, whether it was a crocheting or something, like whatever it is, listening to a podcast, whatever brought you joy, it frustrates me. But seriously, it frustrates me when people do this, but I did it. Like, I can't tell you the amount of times that I've said it on a podcast before. I'm a fantastic teacher. I am a horrible student, because there's all these things that I would be like, but guys, right? But as they say, hindsight's 2020.
Yes.
I don't realize it. Like, I now know that living, with the candle burning at both ends, but like literally flying around the house by the seat of my pants, it was a mess. And I remember I didn't really go to therapy for years. Like, I don't even want to talk about it. I'm embarrassed to say like how long it took me to actually seek like professional help, that I didn't realize that it was like 15 years after my kids were born that I had birth trauma. Like, I didn't even know that was a thing, guys. So forgive me, but it's way too late if you don't start now, right? So the only thing we could do is, no matter what happened yesterday, we were very lucky, knock on wood, that we got another sunrise tomorrow, and we get to modify the things that we did. So no matter how much, like if you got the express pass to the hot mess express, like it does not matter. Tomorrow is a new day. And something that like you touched on already, you were saying that if we don't do all these things, everything falls apart. Right. But let's say, what happens when everything falls apart? What really is going to happen? So if you don't do those dishes, does somebody come in overnight and give you a summons? Are you like, if you don't fold the laundry and you have wrinkles, are you now somehow going to have like a scarlet letter on your shirt that says that you don't fold laundry? Like, what actually has to happen? And I believe that, and remember, I have no mental health training. I just have an unfortunate amount of life experience, or fortunate amount of life experience, that nothing's going to happen. Nothing is going to happen as long as you are clothed and fed and functional. Nothing is going to happen. If you never do a dish and you just live off paper plates forever, and now you want to feel guilty about your carbon footprint, yes, I'm happy for you. Yes, I agree. But you got to get through today in order for us to care about the world tomorrow. And for all of you that are out there listening, I mean, and you're a Californian, so please, no offense to you guys, but whatever you could do to find little bits of moments to steal back from for yourself, if you need that, like if you need permission, right? Because there's some moms that like we're talking to now that are listening that are like, oh, I don't have that problem. Like, I have no problem taking time for myself, right? But there's going to be a good portion of you guys out there in listener land that are like, please help me. I'm drowning. The water is beyond my eyes. I'm making bubbles as I even talk to you about this. And for those of you that are out there, just like, seriously, take a breath. And I wish somebody would have just said that to me, but I'm not saying it in like a passive aggressive, like, you need to calm down. Because we all know that really helps. That's effective.
I will say in therapy, that's one of the things I try not to do.
My gosh. When people like at the minute anybody tells me to calm down, even if I was calm, I'm immediately off and running. That's my triggery words. Do not tell me to calm down. But like, what's going to happen? And so when I work with all of these families and they're like, but I have to, or but I should, or but, it's like, do you really? To like, your body just had 3 brains functioning a minute ago. You had 30 fingers and 30 toes that you were growing. Like, did you really think that you were going to be discharged from a hospital and pop into your pre-pregnancy genes and that life was going to go back to the exact same way that it was? It is shocking. And so one of our goals at Twiniversity is to prepare you for the reality. It's not to scare anybody into what reality is going to be, but we could all prepare better. Because then we could be like, okay, yes, it is going to be a hot mess. Let me see if my mom could stay with me for a week. Or let me see if we could do an alternate schedule for my partner and maybe try to get a little bit extra paternal leave. Let me actually look to see what the state's requirements are for maternal and paternal leave within my state, because unfortunately that is not federally regulated. Different topic for different day. It is very frustrating to me that parents think that there is only one way to do things when not only is every day going to be different, but every hour of each day is going to be different than the previous hour. How could we get that across to people that maybe are expecting or right now in the weeds that are drowning? How do we get them to believe us?
Yeah. Yep. And honestly, like, this is one of the things that as now a coach, now that I've switched over into some more coaching too, is like, I really try to focus on and target in the work that I do, because we know that like everything that you're said is like, is truth. We know that, but there's something that's preventing us from actually like connecting to it and believing it. It's true for us.
Yes.
And so this generation of moms that are out there right now, like I said, we have the most expectations on us that we've ever had. And I will say that social media is beautiful. Like, I'm out here on social media trying to do my thing too. But there's also an unintended consequence of it is that we have so much information where it comes on too fast, too strong, it's too much, and we don't have the time to process it because we see something every 30 seconds, something brand new. And a lot of these things are like, this is good, so do this. And so it's just another expectation that we put on our plate of like, oh, being with my kid 24/7 and creating these core memories and spending every moment with them. And then, oh, wow, look at that house. That house is beautiful. I need to do that too. And we just kind of like little squirrels, we pick up all of these things that we see and say like, oh, that's good. I need to do that so I can be good. And so it's super complex. And I talk a lot about it in the work that I do. But a lot of it is too, is like I can't remember who, it's the book. I thought about it when you were giving your metaphor about like, the book is How to Keep House While Drowning. And I can't remember the author's name, so I'm so sorry, but it's a beautiful book. And I recommend it to the families that I work with too. But she talks about how we often assign morality, like goodness and badness, to tasks that are morally neutral. If I have dishes in my sink, morally neutral task, but there's so much goodness that's attached to clean dishes in the sink. And so when we have dirty dishes, that like, oh, this is bad, I'm lazy, I'm not trying hard enough, like all of the messages that we have received and things that we think come up, and now we feel anxious because the dishes are not done. And so, but we know it doesn't matter. Like, I'm originally from North Dakota, so like I get it, and then moved to California. Like, so sometimes you just have to do things that's like, we just have to, it's going to be messy, but we have so much morality attached to these morally neutral things that it feels really bad and awful. And then we're anxious and overwhelmed because of the mess. And we can't let it go because of these other thoughts that we have. And so it's super complex and complicated. And that's why I think we need so many people to create this village for twin moms now, because we need a village, but we've seen thousands of memes about like, is my village coming? Like, where's my village? Are they showing up anytime soon? I think they lost me. But what moms now have the ability to do with Twiniversity and the stuff that I do is create this village for themselves. And so this is the beauty of social media, how it can be beneficial. Like, I have the and sign in my background because to remind us two things can be true at the same time. Social media can be tricky and it can be a beautiful thing. And now we get the choice. Who are the people that I'm going to receive support from so I can be the mom that I want to be, so I can navigate all of these challenges and these things? Because twin moms are the hardest working people in the room. And sometimes we need a little bit of extra support and help to be able to do these things because we're outnumbered.
100%. And, you know, the other bad thing about social media, which I really just wish I mean, I know that that's how a lot of you guys have found Twiniversity, but seriously, it enrages me because the more you like a post about like that clean sink, the more you're going to see that, the more guilt you're going to have for not doing it. And so social media is kind of perpetuating your own problem because it's not you that's stuck in it. It's now this is what's being curated for you because it thinks you like that.
Yeah. Yep.
It's frustrating. It's very, very, very frustrating. And there are plenty of mom bloggers. And it's really one of the reasons why I really get infuriated when people call me an influencer. And guys, I'm not like, please, I just feel like now that over the past, like, let's say 8 years, it's almost become like a dirty word. And I am an educator before I am anything. And then the next thing I would say is community leader, but influencer was something that I was called like back in 2007 was I was a key influencer because the term used to be like actually used. Like it was like I am an influential person in the baby gear industry or whatever it was. But now it's unfortunately, and for all the influencers out there, I apologize, but you guys are a little bit of a dime a dozen now. And it's really hard to filter out what somebody's personal advice is versus what the actual statistical and evidence-based truth is.
Yeah.
And that makes me cuckoo because everybody's like, oh, I saw that you could do this with your breast pump. And I'm like, no, you actually cannot do that with your breast pump. It specifically says in the book, do not. Yes, you could, right? You could technically, of course, I could put a breast pump on the hood of my car and use it as a decoration, right? I could do anything, but that's not its intended purpose. So when you see all these videos of like, these are my mom hacks and these are my like, no, please, unless it is something that either you know your sister actually did, like somebody that you personally know. I feel like everything is so commercial and it's frustrating because you don't know if that Windex really works or she just got paid to do an advertisement for Windex. And then now it's become so gray. So relying on trusted sources like you and Twiniversity and even March of Dimes, like I could go on for days talking about like actual places that are going to give you truth. And I'm not ever saying, by the way, that any websites or blogs or influencers are not, it's only going to be kind of this fake news for a lack of a better term as I roll my eyes. I apologize for using the term, but I really want people to take anything that they see, they read, or they hear with a grain of salt and think about how it could be applied to them. Right. So how do you, when you are working with a new mom that is coming in with a bunch of preconceived ideas and notions on what the should is in twin families, how do you even find out what they taught, what they know, what they don't know, what's truth, what's fake, what's reality? How do you decipher that?
Yeah, this is a wonderful conversation. It's something that like on my list of future things to do is to create a course around like for moms and twin moms, like how to consume social media, because it's tricky. Like, do we know this person? Like so many people are out there as experts and they may know some things, but are they truly an expert? Like we see things so fast and so often. And like once I started to post on social media more for my business, like understand like, oh, I have to have a hook that gets people's attention within 2 seconds. And what gets attention, not the like truth about burnout and overwhelm and anxiety. Like what gets the attention is like these 5 things, to do these 5 things to avoid burnout. And it's hard because I need people to see my stuff so I can help support them. So it's just a really complicated system, but it's anybody can be an expert. And anybody can share their opinion with authority. But what may happen is like these people who we're following or these people who are giving this information aren't actually people that align with our values. They're not people who we would in any other circumstance have as part of our village or have as part of our community. It's just we saw this thing, we liked it, and then now all of a sudden we're getting more of these things because the algorithm's doing its job, what it's designed to do. But there's a risk to our well-being with that. Absolutely. And so one of the things for new moms too, I really look at is like, take a look at who you're following. Like really start to pay attention, because oftentimes we're on social media and we're not really paying attention, but we're kind of like disassociated, or we're kind of like just zoned out and we're just scrolling. But all that information is getting in there, and our brain is still working, and our brain is still chewing on it, and we're still digesting it later on and say like, oh, I saw this thing. Her house was so clean and my house is a disaster. She's so good and I'm failing. All because of a like 30-second video where this mom's maybe showing this really cool thing that she wants to show us, but the context of social media is missing. And so we don't get the whole picture, the whole story. And so one of the things I recommend to twin moms is really think about like, how do you feel after you engage with someone's content? Are you feeling like, wow, this person aligns with me, I really get it, I understand, I resonate with that? Or are you feeling, I need to do better, I need to do more, I need to do this so I don't mess up my kids, I need to make sure that I don't do that because then I'll be bad? If we're noticing those thoughts after consuming someone's content, we need to unfollow them. They could be the greatest influencer, creator, whatever out there, but if it's making us feel bad about ourselves, like that is not for us, not today. We are vulnerable enough as twin moms with just like, because we're so taxed in every way, like we need to really be mindful and protect what is coming into our mind, into our brains, and into our worlds. And so I really encourage people to look at like, are they an expert? Are they someone who follows your values? Are they someone who is like uplifting? Are they someone who presents reality? Sometimes with some mom accounts is that we only see the good, is that we only see the really beautiful, perfectly curated things. And I get that. Like there's some times where it's like, oh, I don't know if I want to show this because it's scary out there. There are some really not kind people out on social media. And so some people just get roasted for doing things that are normal. So it's scary. It's so complicated. It's not just one way or the other. And I honestly hate that. I wish it was just like one thing and we could be good to go. But we now need to be like almost like conscious consumers and be able to see like, how is this impacting me? We can't just continue to absorb this information because it's going to, it can harm us and increase anxiety, overwhelm.
And so like we're going off on so many tangents here, listeners that are out there, but truthfully, they're all related because the thing is your consumption of media is another sense that gets overwhelmed and your cup gets overfull. And we don't even realize that that's happening, right? When you're like doom scrolling, right? That's the term for it. I really try not to. And I get so mad anytime I see something that I literally told the social media, I'm not interested in this. And then it'll pop back in a few weeks later because their algorithm is like, well, maybe she'll like it now. Like I can't even tell you, right? What about now? How do you feel now? But going with that being touched out, I know that a lot of times when people feel that cup overflowing, one of the first things they do is for comfort, they grab their phone and they want to tap out that way. And they're like, okay, so I'm going to have like a moment of me time. I'm going to go watch 15 minutes of puppy videos on TikTok. But then you get there and within your puppy videos, you come across a twin mom that's like, oh, you know what? My kids just finished their 15th book of the month. Let's look at their chart. Look at this beautiful laminated chart that I made. And we're going to have these wonderful, organic cups made of, quinoa, and that's going to be their treat. And I'm like, where are you? How do I live on the same planet as this? How is that? We're so disconnected. But then at the same time, I say, ooh, that's a really good idea. I should have a chart like that. And we don't realize that is impacting us when we're supposed to be taking a moment to regroup. You're giving yourself more freaking work to do because now you just watch something and now you're like, okay, I'm going to add this assignment. Like, let me write this down. Like kids, like you got to just take a breath and just go back to the era of your grandmother. Yes, everything was not extraordinary. I mean, every generation has their challenges, but now we're making new challenges for ourselves that didn't exist 5 seconds ago.
Yep. Yeah. You're right. Cause like we sometimes, and I will say I do it too. It's like, I just need a minute. I'm just going to like look at this thing. And then we're not actually shutting our brain off. We're not actually resting and restoring. We're getting new information and new like ideas of things that if we do this, then I'll be a good mom. For me, and like in my personal experience, that was it. Anytime I saw something, especially if it was about supporting emotional regulation, supporting their ability to handle their emotions, like what I need to do as a mom to raise a good, resilient, healthy, emotionally healthy child, I took that right in. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I need to do that now. And in the moment that I was trying to take a rest and take a break, now I'm going. Now I'm more things that are on my plate, more things that I need to do, more responsibilities, more expectations for myself, when really what I needed was to take 30 seconds, take some deep breaths, drink some ice cold water, get a snack, and now I'm good to go. But it's just the cycle that we get on because social media is so easy. It's so accessible. We do it with good intentions. We're not out there like, how can I feel bad about myself today? And I'm going to go on social media, but it's one of the unintended consequences of social media. And then our job as consumers and our job as moms is to really protect our energy and protect our well-being by saying, you know what? Maybe I'm not going to scroll. Maybe I'm going to go outside. Maybe I'm going to go take a walk. Maybe I'm going to go grocery shopping, like whatever it could be, rather than putting ourselves in a situation where we continue to stay activated. Because then that is just a straight road to burnout and survival mode and overwhelm and anxiety.
And for those of you out there that haven't gotten to that point, like you may not get to that point. You may actually like your reality may be, I have no idea what they're talking about. I've never experienced anything like this. And that's fantastic. But this is all still valid because this could be your future. And if you know, right, once again, if you're prepared that this is a roadblock that you could come up against and you're prepared to figure out how to kind of navigate around it, now you know. You know, I try to say, just go back to basics, right? Like literally level one, right? When parents are like, I want this $2,000 stroller and I want to do this. I'm like, gentle reminder, your grandmother slept in a drawer. You know, and like, am I saying
seatbelts apparently? So
I never, there was no car seats when I was growing up. I was born in the 70s and like we had no sunscreen. We had no seatbelts. I have a scar on my eyebrow from where I got burned with a cigarette because that was my walking height and people just did not think about it. But it's just go back to the good basics of where you made eye contact with people and where you took a moment to just breathe in the day and to stop and smell the roses. Like, seriously, why is that not used more today? Nobody says you're going to stop to smell the roses. Like, we don't even really use that term, but the term is literal. You have to literally stop and appreciate the beauty that's right in front of you because you could pass it right by. And guess what? It may not be there tomorrow. That rose that you passed could have been withered. And there's going to be a new one in a few days, but you were right there. And all the goodness of your kiddos that's right in front of you, if you get touched out, if you get overwhelmed, if you need to tap out, you're not going to be potentially physically, emotionally, or you're just not going to be present. And you're going to miss out on some of the most delicious experiences that humanity has to offer. And it's because you think it's better to just go and have a clean sink and have folded laundry and miss out on all those things where it's maybe time to take like a family inventory of what your priorities are. And then you and your partner have to get on that same page. Now, like Kristen, seriously, how do we get our partner on that page? And how do we get our partners to understand that our cups are overflowing? We're overwhelmed. We can't handle this. How do we get our support community to support us?
Yeah. I think that's a complicated and such a beautiful question because I said about being a twin mom, like when I was pregnant, people are like, are you ready? Are you prepared? And I was like, I have no idea. I'm not going to know what it's like until I'm actually experiencing it, until I'm in it. And so what I recommend for twin moms is like, other people don't know what it's like to be a twin mom. What our job, unfortunately, it does increase our mental load. It does increase the work that we have to do. But if we want things to get better, if we want our partner, our village, our community to understand, then we are responsible for communicating what it's actually like for us. We cannot assume that people get it and people know. We have to find out ways that we can communicate. And it's not just one conversation, it's multiple conversations, and it's conversations that are tough and tricky and hard, and there's no perfect resolution. We often think we have this conversation and we reach this great agreement and everything's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
That's for the movies. That's not reality. And so what it is like, even if you have this conversation where it's hard and we say some hard things, at least we know now we're a little bit more on the same page. We're coming back to each other, because with twins, what's so common is both parents slip into survival mode. And so when we're in survival mode, the thing that we do is we put our head down and we survive. We're not looking up to our community, to our partners to communicate what's happening. And so again, we have to do the opposite of what that survival mode is telling us to do. So we communicate and we really say, like, when you put your hand on me and you like just kind of rubbed my shoulder, for me, that sent me over the edge and I reacted really poorly. I understand. But what it's like for me is people are touching me every second of the day. And I am not getting this is the most important part. I'm not getting any breaks to be able to reset and offload all of this stress. And so I'm in this constant stress. And so when other things touch me, I can't handle it because I'm at my limit. And so we have to communicate that. And we have to really, when we are calm, because if we're communicating this when we're in that state, when we're yelling and when we're upset, our message is not going to be heard. We're going to be met with more of that same level. And so when we're calm, when we have this moment, for me, like, I recommend, we often think that these conversations need to be like sitting down at a table, verbally, we're talking about this. Sometimes, like, me and my partner, like, we're shooting off text to each other because that's what we have to do sometimes. And so it can be written down, like, hey, they go to work or whatever. I'm so sorry that I did this. This is what's happening for me. And so at least what we're doing, we're getting it out. We're making an attempt. We're trying. The biggest problem is that all of this just lives in our body and we're constantly, it's only inside and we have no way to release it and to talk to people about it. And so we just need to try. One of the things that I'm most passionate about is taking imperfect action. And so it's not like, okay, I'm going to talk to my husband. I'm going to say this, 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 and this, and it's going to be beautiful. It's all right. I have to have this conversation. It's going to be incredibly difficult. I don't really know what to say, and I'm going to try. It's this imperfect action, because if we wait for perfect, it's never going to happen, because that's not reality. We take imperfect action every single day because we're all fighting for our lives out here. And we just got to do the best that we can with what we have and try. I think that's the thing, is that we just have to try. Does that make sense?
We're definitely trying, right? It's the amount of work that we get done in a day. Like, I remember when the Twinnies were little and I was super in survival mode, anytime that I would feel really stressed, I would say the Navy SEALs work 10 times harder than I do. And so I had a friend that says, when you're starting to compare your life to a Navy SEAL, it may be time to cut back on a few things. And I was serious about it. I was very serious.
Yeah, I was like, I wonder if a Navy SEAL could do what I do. Like, I really want to compare. And then I love that. Like, oh, if I'm thinking that, that's a red flag. Because these are people who are the most elite, trained people in our military. And we're, as moms, comparing ourselves. We need to take a step back. I love that.
I'm now an official Navy SEAL. I didn't even know that we should all have the little colors and stripes on us. But yeah, we all just paint. Yes, we did. So I didn't even realize that wasn't like a normal thing to say. I didn't like it now in hindsight, of course. I'm like, wow, but that's where I was. That was the spot that I was in. And I, for whatever reason, like, I don't get out of that. Like, I could remember clearly. I know that a lot of times people are like, oh, I know, it was crazy, but I can't remember the specifics. But Mother Nature's great like that, because she makes you forget all that. So we have more kids. Because if we actually remember every little pain and every little thing that happened, we would be like, oh no. We will not be growing this family anytime soon. So we do have like this protective sense of our emotions that are sometimes going to make us tap out to protect us from ourselves. But I really want people to not get to that point. I want them to like love as much as possible and remember as much as possible because
Yes.
it's too stressful. And there are so many outside things. And yeah, we don't have to pound our laundry on the rock and we don't have to churn our own butter, but we've just added those tasks in our lives in different ways.
Yeah.
And then we've added 75 more things. And there's all these stupid expectations that I'll never quite understand. And understand that truthfully, for those of you that are listening, if you ever feel judged at Twiniversity, like immediately email me at natalie@twiniversity.com because we have this whole philosophy that we want everybody to feel welcome in our house. And we never want you to ever feel uncomfortable. And we will always be that lighthouse, that safe space for you. And seriously, Kristen, every second Tuesday at 1:30, we always have our monthly meeting. And kids, like it's crazy, the topics that come up. And it's always that you feel that way. I feel that way too. I didn't know anybody else thought like that.
Yes.
So it becomes like, wow, it's not just me. And that gives you a sense of connection and it makes you feel a lot less alone and a lot less guilty when you find out that a mom is taking breaks and is sitting in the bathroom with the lights off or taking a shower every Sunday with a sippy cup of white wine. Whatever it is that you need to do to get through, just keep trying to find it, but you will get through. But it's not just the fact of will you, it's will you greatly, will you feel, will you have that sense of, satisfaction for your life instead of just saying like, I check these items off a list.
Yeah, I think the thing is like you can get through. Twin moms can do absolutely anything that we want. They're the strongest people that I've ever met. And I still tap into strength reserves that I didn't know that I had. But the question is like, how are you getting through this?
Yeah.
Are you getting through this in a way that where you're finding joy and happiness and love and you're being the mom that you want to be? Or are you getting through this because you have to? You just have to keep going. And so we really look at like, are you finding joy? Are you really enjoying this? Or is this something that you're going to look back and say like, I don't even remember, but I did it and it's okay. Like, I want to look back on this time and be able to say, I did my best.
Yeah.
And I took breaks and I took moments and I really took care of myself so I could remember, so I could enjoy, and so I could love. This is my one precious life. And I want to make sure that I am doing everything I can so it is precious.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it.
It's so important. And then also by proxy, you're teaching your kids that it's okay to do these things. And when their cups get overflowed, like that's not even a word, but when their cups start to overflow, like they will have, you could lead by example is really where I'm going with this.
Yep.
And if you go, you're going to have kids that go, and they're going to raise kids that go, and nobody's going to stop. Eventually, hopefully you get somebody along that generational line that it does not look up to the fact that they want to be an at-home Navy SEAL. That's what that is. I'm a stay-at-home Navy SEAL. That's going to be my new title at Twiniversity. I'm a stay-at-home Navy SEAL. That's what we do. But guys, you could do it. And we're going to be here for you every step of the way. And we're going to put links below for the show notes for Kristen and how she could support you, because there are many, many ways to get the support that maybe you need. Maybe you want something structured, right? Maybe you want to just stand in the background and be a wallflower until you're ready to say something, but just do something. Do something for yourself if you think that you may be falling down this kind of twin mom rabbit hole of misery.
Yeah. I call it the twin mom survival cycle. And that's what I have. And so my whole purpose of my business and what I do with Harmony and Multiples on my Instagram account is like, let's say the things that we need to say about twin moms and how hard it is. Let's acknowledge it. So one twin mom is not alone thinking she's the problem, that something's wrong with her. So that's part of what I do on my platform. And then also like really focus on how do we get twin moms on what I call the twin mom thriving path. We want these twin moms to thrive. And so both of us are out here doing that. I have a free guide that I'll send to you and you can link it in the show notes to be able to provide that start for twin moms, so how to decrease overwhelm and anxiety. And it's a wonderful privilege to be able to help support twin moms through this.
I'm so excited because I really like Twiniversity is what I would have wanted. And so like I made something instead of just talking about it.
Exactly.
Like I made something. And there's a definite difference between people who talk and people who do. And you have to do for you. I, for whatever reason, I have a very, very still to this day, have a very hard time doing things for me, but I have literally no problem doing things for you. But I have a post-it on my computer right here next to my camera that says, I can't help but fix the things that are broken. And my sister said, so when are you going to start to pay attention to you? Right? Because I'm like, my back hurts, my knees hurt, I got a headache. So she's like, at what point do you start fixing you? And I, as I said, great teacher, horrible student, but I am seriously, like I would say probably the past 5 years trying. And every day it's a struggle, but I have it's so much easier for me to help somebody else than to help myself. But that's typical. That's that's human nature. And that's why we help our twinnies before we feed ourselves. That's just the way we feel that things have to be. But for anybody out there, like, please, if you feel like you're like, I'm touched out, I'm overwhelmed, I can't listen to this noise in this house anymore. If you find yourself saying that I can't do, then call somebody, even if it's like your bestie, and just be like, I need a minute. And you please just be a good listener.
Just listen.
And that's just what I need right now. So we're there, and I can't thank you enough for joining me today.
I have one tip before we go for you. So one of the things that I recommend for twin moms, when we're in that space where like I'm constantly doing for others, I cannot do for myself, then I have, I guess maybe a challenge or goal for twin moms is like, do one thing for yourself a day. Just one thing. It can be a big thing. It can be a small thing. For me, my one thing is I make a homemade caramel latte every morning. It takes twice as long as pushing the button just to brew coffee, but it brings me joy. It makes me happy. So I do one thing a day for myself because it reminds us that we can take care of ourselves. It's hard. It's not like rainbows and butterflies and sunshine by any means, but it reminds us that we can do something. So I say to start with one thing. It can be small, and then that builds. You get momentum. Oh yeah, I did make my coffee for myself this morning, or oh yeah, I ate my lunch while it was hot today. I can do more. And then now we start to understand like this is possible. And then we get this momentum and we're rolling. And then maybe we take that girl's night. Maybe we, do these things, but we have to start. One thing a day.
I'm laughing because like good to us is I am going to eat my lunch while it's hot, right? Like if you said that to somebody not in our circle, they would be like, she's lost it. She's really lost it. Right. But for us, that's a big deal.
Yep.
That's a really big deal. So you'll laugh. And I promise everybody that's out there, you will be in my shoes someday. Your 20s will be bigger, and you'll look back and you'll say, that was insane. But I have such an unbelievable sense of accomplishment. And if God forbid, I got hit by a bus tomorrow, I really feel good about the choices I made in my life.
Yeah.
And that was always one of my goals. Like, I feel like I've accomplished so much in my 47 extremely long years that I have been on this earth. And I keep thinking that, it's only too late if you don't start now, that I got to start making some more changes. But I feel good, but I still have ways to go. And I hate when people call me an expert too. And I know sometimes I'm listed as that, but an expert is somebody that got to where they want to be. I am not there yet. I am still learning every single day. Every single day I read a new research study, whether it's in the US, whether it's something in Austria, it doesn't matter. I am constantly trying to evolve for the sake of creating a better community. And so twin moms out there, you guys should take a break, because me and Kristen are doing all that homework for you. So you don't have to.
Yes.
And then you could come and reap the benefits from all the hours of everything that we've done to try to give you guys a better experience and a better life. The only thing that we can't do for you is do it. Right. So that's the only thing. So like, seriously, I'm so impressed by like what you're creating, and I'm excited to watch the evolution of what comes to be on how you could continue to do this. But anybody who's going to be in our corner and really like dedicate themselves to helping us, I can't do anything but like seriously applaud you and just say thank you, because
Thank you.
nobody pays attention to us, as you know. But you know what? Don't tell anybody outside of our twin circle, but this is how we roll for each other. This is what we do. So thank you so much. And we'll have everything there, but I can't wait to do this again. I hope that.
Yes, I would love to come back. Thank you for having me so much. This was wonderful. It's so nice to get to connect with another twin mom. So thank you for this.
Oh, it's my pleasure entirely. And for those of you out there in listener land, if you need anything from us, we really mean it. Like, we're not even, I don't know why you guys aren't taking advantage of us. You could email us at community@twiniversity.com, or you could slide into our DMs on any social platform. We're just at Twiniversity, the end. That's it. I don't even care where you find us, but find us and get the help that you need, and don't create a bigger problem, and don't create a problem that doesn't exist. So just take that in. And if this was your time that you had out of your day and you chose to listen to us, oh my God, I love you so much.
Yes,
thank you so much. Thank you so much for doing that. And if this wasn't your me time and you stumbled across this by accident, well, now we know you're addicted and you'll be back.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. All right, kids. So until next time, see you later, alligators. Thanks so much for listening.